I want to ask you this because just regarding this show, I know like
We got
we're
some
focusing
Nebraska
on
here. Welcome.
we're focusing on this week specifically, but it's hard for me to not bring up the Oregon game because I feel like none of this matters at all. We know that USC, according to ESPN FPI, USC has like a 24% chance of beating uh, Oregon, which would be maybe expected. But do you think USC has, and I know it's weeks away, right? So it may not be worth even talking about, but I just am curious. Do you think USC has any sort of shot against Oregon?
Yeah. So, I'm from Oregon. All my friends go to the University of Oregon. I've been talking a lot of trash, Casey, and it's like it's gonna come back and bite me in the ass. But I've been talking a lot of trash more just because I guess I will. I think this team is a lot better than the one in 2023 when they last went to Eugene. I think at a minimum, they're gonna give Oregon a scare. And I think keep it close in the fourth quarter. It wasn't really they lost by 9 last time. It was a 2 touchdown game the entire time. So I feel like at a minimum they'll give them a scare. I don't think they're going to win.
Yeah.
If I don't think they're going to win at Nebraska, I'm not going to say I think they can win at Oregon.
Yeah, that was also Caleb Williams' team too. Like, he could keep USC in any sort of game, which I guess the same could be said about.
Flop Caleb Williams on this team. I think Jaden's been great, but Heisman Trophy Caleb Williams is different breed. So
yeah, I think one thing that Lincoln Riley's preached that I definitely agree with is there's a few guys on this USC team that, and this can circle back to Nebraska. There's a few guys on this team that can will USC to a win sometimes, and Jaden Mayava is one of them. Makai Lemon is another one of them. Yep. I would have said like Wayman Jordan, but he's injured. Defensive side of the ball guy like Eric Gentry or Kamari Ramsey, but I just feel like those guys are going to have to step up because we know, we've talked about it. And there were people in our comments who adamantly disagreed with us when we were talking about Makai Lemon.
Yeah.
It's no dig on Makai Lemon, but he's just being guarded more heavily than he was week 1, week 2, week 3.
Yeah.
So
if anything, it shows how much better he is than people thought and how much more respect he's garnering.
Yeah. We had people saying to us, like, people aren't double teaming Makai Lemon. Like, they absolutely were. Like, there were people in space, maybe not necessarily playing like 2 man-to-man coverage guys on him, but there was guys in space.
They're layering the coverage. So
they were layering the coverage, exactly. And so, yeah, again, like, Makai doesn't have to necessarily face a guy like Leonard Moore this week, but they're going to be keeping an eye on 6, like, and not to say that, like, and I think the thing that makes Makai Lemon so special is even when he is guarded so heavily, he still has good games. He didn't play poorly at all against Notre Dame. He had a solid game, and they actually got, Tanuk Hines more involved, which I thought was good. And Lake McCree had that early touchdown, but I think it's all about consistency. I think it's sort of a cliche, but these guys, a lot of them are really present in the first half, and then the second half of games, you don't really see them a whole lot. I think Tanuk Hines was one of them, and I don't really trash on him too much because he's a freshman.
Yeah,
and he was kind of thrust into that role, but I think that logic could be applied to a guy like Jacoby Lane. Like we talked about it a bit last week. There were some big drops in that Notre Dame game. And he's a very talented receiver. The size, the frame, the hands are there, but that can't happen. And I know like the weather will be better, but it's still going to be a very hard place to play, as you know, Terrence. You think USC is going to lose, so I know you agree with me there, but a lot of people don't think that that's a factor. This is I know the blackout, like, what does that actually mean? But it means that people are going to have a certain type of energy. It's Halloween weekend.
Yeah, whenever you do anything out, when it's a whiteout blackout, people are going to be energized.
This reminds me of Illinois a bit because, Illinois is not known to have like the greatest atmosphere in the conference, but it was their homecoming weekend. They packed the stands, they had the intangibles on their side. It was a 9 a.m. Pacific kickoff. Like, this to me feels like there's elements of that, the fact that it's on the road. It's, a big weekend just for students in general. It's a blackout game. Nebraska is a great football town, or, Lincoln, you know what I mean? So, it's hard. It's hard. It's tough.
Yeah, it's a tough road environment. USC favorite. Do you know the line?
I think 6.5.
Yeah, 6.5. Line is 6.5. I very much think that USC is the better team, 100%. I have seen this time and time again. When USC whether it is Lincoln Riley in the offense or the defense, when they need to go win the game on the road, they cannot do it. And it's whether it's play calling, whether it's the little things in between on the field, they do not win the game.
I want to ask you too, because I think this is like a conversation that's been.
I wish this were true. I wish this were true. This has not been true the last 2 years. I wish it were true.
Maybe during the Pete Carroll era.
We love seeing Nebraska fans in our chat, though.
Yeah, we appreciate. I feel like we get a lot of opposing fans sometimes,
which is kind of fun. Yeah.
So
those Michigan guys never showed up, by the way.
Yeah, no, they were scared. One thing I want to ask you, because I feel like this was not brought up a lot last year because it was his first season at USC, but Danton Lynn, I think gets a lot of praise for good reason. He's a very good teacher, is what I've heard in practice. He developed a guy like Kamari Ramsey into, I don't know if he's necessarily a day one pick anymore, but he's probably a fairly high draft pick. He's not having his greatest season, but he's still the point's not about Kamari Ramsey. The point's about Danton Lynn. He's a great teacher. He's a mastermind of the defense in terms of developing guys. We've seen him improve USC. But, we can't shy away from the fact that USC's defense has been their weak spot this year.
Yeah.
Part of that is because, their offense is so good. But, I think Danton Lynn, from the USC fan standpoint, doesn't get a lot of blame for these types of games when, again, Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price, collectively rushing for 300-plus yards.
Yeah.
And, USC hasn't really proven itself defensively this year a whole lot. You could say Michigan only holding them to 13 points, but Michigan's best offensive asset is Justice Haynes. They don't really have that many good receivers.